up, you guys? Welcome to the TopazVibesTV channel here on YouTube. We are going to be recapping The Real Housewives of Orange County, Season 17, Episode 1. It's been a while since we checked in with these ladies, and it will be interesting to see what they're bringing this season. So, let's get into it. First off, the show starts with Tamra riding in on her bike like a badass in her all black and in leather. And it's really just giving a review and a recap of some of her prime moments from the last season she was on, The Real Housewives of the OC. So it's a lot of arguments, a couple of good moments between her and Gina, her and Shannon, but also her bad talking some of the ladies on the show as well. So it's giving you a recap of what things were like the last time she was on the OC. I do like the scene where she parks at her house and she takes off the helmet and does the whole big hair flip. It's just a lot of drama showing that, okay, she's coming back with a bang, right? So then she goes into the house and we have this scene at the beginning between Tamra, Eddie, and her mother, Sandy. From what we can tell, Tamra sold her mother's house and her mother now lives in their casita, which I guess is kind of like a guest house in the OC. And I guess that's going to feed into her storyline maybe. I didn't love this whole conversation between the three of them, all the sexual talk. Anyways, this, I guess, was thrown in there to be interesting. I didn't really find that conversation to be that interesting, but that's our intro into Tamra's return. Next, we move on to a scene with Shannon and Emily going for a walk with their dogs, and they get together. And honestly, what is with Shannon and that spray? I don't know if it was bug spray or sunscreen, whatever it was, but she looked so crazy spraying that. Anyways, it's very much Shannon. She makes me laugh. Thought that was kind of funny that they kept that in there. So the two of them take their dogs. They go for a walk and Shannon's giving a bit of her life update. Her eldest daughter is at some religious university in a serious relationship with her boyfriend. They continue on this walk and we get this scene where Emily feeds Shannon's dog, her dog, I don't know, she feeds one of the dogs from the dog bowl some water, and then she goes to drink out of it herself. That is so gross. And she said that she heard that a dog's mouth is cleaner than a human's mouth, and, you know, she shares her food and she uses the same knife and fork to eat out of the bowl. Whatever it is, she is sharing her utensils and her cups and her bowls with her dogs. That is gross. I don't know if she's doing that to play it up for the camera, because Emily's had a couple of those moments last season where she says some off-the-wall things or does some off-the-wall things. I remember her bringing the sandwich into the sauna. It's just kind of quirky and funny, so I'm not sure she's playing that up for the camera. Anyways, she drank out of the same water bowl as the dog. These two start talking about Tamra, right? They're anticipating Tamra's return. Basically, they're talking about all the mean and nasty things that Tamra said about them in the press after she was fired. Tamra was very supportive of Shannon over the years, particularly when she was having a really hard time with her divorce. And they even show a scene where Tamra says, you know what? It's been a lot. I have been there for you all this way, and it's just the Shannon show. It's all about Shannon, and I can't take it anymore. So I wonder if when Shannon felt like Tamra was pulling back, was it really that Tamra felt like she wasn't having the same type of intent in their friendship reciprocated? I remember that Tamra was really there for Shannon during her divorce. Shannon had such a hard time with the breakdown of that relationship, and Tamra was there for her every step of the way. I do remember watching that unfold on the show, and I just felt like, oh my goodness, she is very needy, rightly so. But Tamra tried to be there for her as best as she could. Shannon was on a whole other level, a very annoying level, but Tamra still stuck by her. And I feel like maybe Tamra is thinking, oh, now that I'm in need of support after being fired from our show, maybe she didn't feel like Shannon was giving her the same level of support, right? Or that Shannon didn't really do anything to defend her. I have no idea, but there's some contention there. Next, we have a scene with Gina taking her kids to the orthodontist. I'm going to be honest, I don't care. This was a nothing scene, but I guess showing Gina in the mom light. Then we kind of scooch over and show Emily in her mom light as well. We got a bit of an update from Emily that Shane, now that he's passed the bar, is now working as a lawyer, I'm assuming full time. And now she's been able to step back and be a stay-at-home mom. She said that's what she's kind of always wanted. And we get the scene of her taking her kids through the drive-through. Some fast food restaurant, I don't think it really says. But there's this cute little scene where her daughter is mimicking her. But the thought I had is that, oh, if her daughter can mimic what she orders at the drive-through, that means they go through there a lot, right? And probably do the same order over and over. I don't know. I don't really care that much about Emily and her kids or Gina and her kids, but we got that scene. It was enough for us to get an update on Gina as well, that she's in a better space of co-parenting with her ex-husband. She's come a long way from those domestic violence charges that she had when that relationship was breaking down. So it's a nice, happy update, I guess. Next, we get a glimpse into what's happening with Heather and Terry. I really like these two. I think their relationship is cute and it's genuine. I like seeing them together. I was really looking forward to seeing Terry's face because I don't know what he did a little while ago. I saw a picture of him and he looked very different. He said, yeah, he went a little too hard on the Botox and it changed up his look a little bit. So I was interested in seeing what he looked like coming back to the show. Anyways, they talk about him being super athletic and he tears his meniscus, and Heather is now playing caretaker for him as best as she can. And she does that by bashing him into the wall when they're trying to get on the elevator. Again, honest mistake that I think was a cute capture. Heather starts talking to him about 50% of their children leaving. I guess that's going to be part of her storyline. You know, they went ahead and built this big, huge, opulent house, and now, well, a big, huge, opulent house that was way too big for the amount of people who are living there. But now they're losing half their kids who are going off to school. So they don't really need that house anyways. We have heard that they did sell that mansion and bought a penthouse, I think in LA or something like that. Who knows if we'll see that this season? Probably not. Heather moves into a conversation about her friendship with Gina. So if you watched last year, she and Gina kind of built up a bit of a friendship, bonding over the fact that they were both from New York. I don't know if it's New York City, could be New York State. I'm not sure. They're both East Coast girls. So they kind of bonded over that. It seemed a little bit forced, in my opinion, from what I could tell, because, you know, Heather lives this rich, opulent lifestyle, and Gina's a regular girl, right? You can tell that they come from different worlds, so their friendship didn't seem like it would be that likely. Anyways, Heather's feeling some kind of way because she's like, well, after the show stopped airing, Gina didn't reach out to me. I tried to create this friendship. I tried to foster this friendship, but she was nowhere to be found. So she's a little bit perturbed, if you will. Anyways, oh, side note, I really liked Heather's leopard print outfit. I wouldn't think she would wear a jumpsuit like that, but I thought it looked really good. To me, any type of animal print is a neutral, so I liked this on her. I was also just looking at Heather's general look. I like the fact that even though she's married to a plastic surgeon, she hasn't done a ton to her face, right? She doesn't seem like she's unrecognizable. I'm sure she's had a few tweaks here, some Botox, whatever it is, but the amount of work that she may have had done is pretty tasteful, and it doesn't seem like overkill. So after Heather was done complaining to Terry about, hey, my friendship with Gina just seemed to fizzle out after we stopped recording, Terry brought up a good point. He said, you flew Gina to New York on a G4, right? Like, who does that? Who has the opportunity to do that? I feel like Gina is a little intimidated. Like, oh my God, this woman is rich. She's not just like, oh, I have a few coins in the bank rich. So if you have a friend who's flying you across a nation on a private jet, yeah, I'm probably not inviting you to my backyard barbecue either, or out to a dive bar. It just doesn't seem like their lives would match up. So it's interesting that Heather is a little bit saddened by the fact that it was a bit of a fake relationship, but I can also see that Gina's like, she's probably just doing this for the show and doesn't really want to hang out with me when we're not filming. But we'll see how this plays out. Next, Tamra, Eddie, Jenn, and her boyfriend go bowling. Let's be honest, these people don't bowl. This is such a manufactured scene, but I get it. We have to introduce Jenn into the fold somehow, and she's doing this through her relationship with Tamra. So I don't know if anyone has gone bowling during the pandemic, but if you think about it, they are bowling, but they're also eating. And I can guarantee you, Eddie and the boyfriend, I don't care to know his name right now, they're probably licking their fingers after having their wings or mozzarella sticks or whatever it is that they're eating, and then they're sticking those fingers into the bowling balls. That is so nasty. I'm sure that it's being done, even though it wasn't shown on camera, and I think it's gross. So we have a scene where we're learning how Tamra and Jenn know each other. So Jenn was, I guess, a customer at Cut Fitness. Tamra trained her for a fitness competition. Ryan, the boyfriend, I remember his name now, he used to come in to the gym, and somehow he and Jenn hooked up, and now they're in a relationship. Blah, 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 nothing. We're just creating the linkage here of how we can bring Jenn into this group and how we can introduce her as a full-time housewife on this show. One thing to note here is that Tamra again mentions that she's worried about what Eddie's going to do now that Cut Fitness is closed. So she mentioned that in the first scene when they were sitting around and talking with her mother. She said, Cut Fitness, that was Eddie's baby. I don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to get on my nerves? What will he do with his time? And I'm interested. I don't know what Eddie did for work before they opened the gym. I can't remember that far back in the earlier seasons when he and Tamra were just dating. I'm not sure what his field is. It probably is fitness, and maybe he was a trainer of some sort, but he can still do his personal training or work in the fitness realm without owning a gym, right? We know that during the pandemic, a lot of gyms closed and people had to pivot. They had to bring things online. So I'm sure that he can figure something out. In the next scene, Gina then drops by Heather's house to give going away gifts to her kids. And you can't see me, but I'm doing drops by in these air quotes. I love when Heather said, no one ever pops by my house. It's not really a thing. It's behind 3 gates. And it is impossible to just like, oh, I'm going to go see what she's up to. She only accepts planned visits, right? So we know that Gina had to have called her or let her know at least the day that she was going to drop by. I don't know. Did anyone else find it weird that Heather's assistant leaned in and gave Gina a hug? It was as if the 3 of them were going to hang out. It's like, no, you are hired. You are working. Gina's not your friend, so stop fangirling. Anyways, just a side note. Heather also says that they're going for a Starbucks run. But then the Starbucks drinks appeared like 3 seconds later. So did they Uber Eats the drinks to her mansion behind 3 gates? It also wouldn't surprise me if Heather had a Starbucks on site. Heather and Gina sit outside and they're chatting, and she brings it up. She says, hey, you dropped me after we were done filming. What's up with that? And Gina just starts humming. She's offering excuse after excuse for not hanging out with Heather. Honestly, this goes back to the fact that I think Gina was intimidated by her. She didn't know where or how she would fit into Heather's lifestyle, right? So Gina says, I don't think to necessarily throw an invite out to you because it's not a fabulous thing. I think that's the truth. Heather only does big and fabulous things. For her to hang out with others, it's not just a spontaneous, casual event. So I understand where Gina's coming from when she said, I didn't think to throw you an invite because you probably wouldn't come. And I think that's exactly it too. Heather wants the invite just to feel included so she can say no. Whatever. These two want to hang out for different reasons. Gina wants a taste of that opulent lifestyle. Heather, I think, wants to feel a little bit more grounded. I think she likes the fact that Gina's from New York. She's a bit different from the other women who might live out in the OC. Gina probably reminds her of home. So I feel like this relationship can work. They both can get a little bit out of it, but they actually have to hang out outside of filming. Now we get introduced to Jenn and her family and her whole situation. So they do a rundown of her children. So this woman has a 12-year-old daughter, a 16-year-old son, an 18-year-old son who makes a demand for protein bars with at least 20 grams of protein because anything less is not worth it. She also has a son who's 9 who's adopted, another 13-year-old son, 2 dogs, 2 guinea pigs, 2 fish, a mama cat, and 5 foster cats. Wow, that is a busy household. Also, all those animals under that roof, not for me. Not doing it. I hope it doesn't smell in there. We also learn about Jenn's relationship situation. So she's divorced. Her ex-husband, his name is Will. He works for her family business and lives in Oklahoma. So that's the state that Jenn is originally from. I'm not sure how exactly they met, but he took her out of Oklahoma. She got a taste of the OC lifestyle and she said, bye Oklahoma, leaving it behind, take me to the OC. Somehow, her ex-husband is still working for her family in that state. So one, I'm curious, what is the family business? I'm not sure if they actually mention it, but even in the divorce, he's still working for them. And there's something going on here. She said that her family kind of turned on her when she wanted to leave the relationship. She said she got into it with her father and she was prepared to just keep her head down, stay in that relationship that wasn't working, and move back to Oklahoma. That's a little nugget that she's giving there. I like that. We know there's more to her story. It's an unconventional situation. She and her ex-husband still share the home. When her ex-husband comes back to stay with the kids, she moves out. She goes to stay with Ryan and he moves into the home. All of Will's stuff is still in the house. So Ryan is making all these comments and these jokes about wearing Will's clothes, and Jenn just turns to look at him like, that's not funny. I like Jen's reaction to his jokes. When she tells him to stop, it feels like a real reaction. It feels to me genuine and that she's not yet tainted by reality TV. She's just reacting the way she normally would react. I don't know if Jen's been on TV before, but she seems green, but not in the way that a newbie might stare into the camera or is hyper aware that the cameras are there. She's just kind of being her natural self, and I really like that. Next, we have Heather, Gina, and Tamra go to play pickleball. So again, this is a scene where we get to connect a link between Gina and Jenn. They met through Tamra, and Gina sometimes goes to Jen's yoga studio, right? We're seeing how we're starting to weave Jenn into the friendship group. They're trying to make it seem a little bit more natural that, hey, there's an actual connection here. because we know it doesn't work on other housewife shows when you know they've just auditioned someone and thrown them into the mix and they don't mesh. In the next scene, everyone shows up to Jenn's outdoor yoga retreat, right? They all get introduced to her. This is how we are officially integrating her into the group. Tamra has a connection with all the ladies, and now she's connecting them with Jenn, and we're seeing how Jenn is going to do in this group setting. Jenn seems really warm, really natural, really inviting. She's in her element. And to have these ladies come to her retreat, I think that's a great introduction to the group. The group participates in Jenn's yoga experience. I was digging this drone footage. I don't think this was the same type of production value that they used to use on the OC. Correct me if I'm wrong. I really liked it. Shannon struggling through that session, oh my goodness, and her commentary, that sent me. She is so unintentionally funny. When she went to bend over and she's like, son of a gun, it's such a Shannon expression to say. And then when her foot slipped, probably because the bottom of her foot was sweaty, this part where everyone reaches up their hands into the air and Shannon can't even do that. She topples over. It was funny. I love that Shannon is so naturally awkward. It provides some of that comedy relief. Jenn talks to Shannon and Emily and one of the other yoga participants, and she gives them a little bit of a background into her relationship with her ex-husband and how her family turned against her, and she was prepared to just stick it out and move back to Oklahoma. She's opening up. I think she's integrating herself pretty naturally into this group, sharing what she needs to share, but you can also tell there's more under the surface, and that will most likely unfold or be a part of her storyline throughout the rest of the season. I'm just so curious to know, why was her family going so hard to protect her ex-husband and not her? They also bring up the cheating rumor that Jenn cheated on her husband. They also bring up the cheating rumors that Jenn cheated on her husband. So we'll see what is underneath the surface when it comes to that. Is it a rumor? Who knows? Next, we move on to what I thought was the best scene in the episode. It was Emily and Gina giving Tamra a pep talk on what to say to Shannon. And then Shannon awkwardly walks into the background and she says, "Oh, is this me?" Her face, she is so awkward with it, and I love it. Like, she genuinely started laughing at the fact that she walked in on this. Having to have a conversation after 2.5 years, Tamra starts breaking down immediately. You can tell she's holding back tears. I think they were real tears. Then we get a preview of the conversation 1 week later. That conversation sounds heated and contentious, particularly from Tamra. Tamra seems pissed. And we know what Tamra is like when she is in a confrontational state. She can be vicious. So we'll see what that's like starting next week. I like that they're giving us a bit of that drama right off the bat. We get a few previews into what's to come. I'm telling you, I'm not looking forward to Taylor. Don't care. Not interested. Why is she the first crossover housewife? Like, why does she get that privilege? The other thing to take note of, when Tamra asks Shannon if she and John wanted to get married, and do you see how Shannon's head snaps and looks at John, kind of like, well, what's going to happen? And we know what happens in real life. So we know that will be a part of Shannon's storyline as well, which to me is a little bit sad because she just said that she's at a very happy place in her life. And then to have another curveball thrown at her, it'll be interesting to see what happens down the road. And then, of course, finally, Vicky at the end. Oh my gosh, she is too much. I don't know if I want to see her back as a full housewife yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing what she brings back to the show. Last season, my God, last season was such trash. It was so boring. We need a little bit of excitement, and I think that excitement is going to come in the form of Vicki Gunvalson. So that is my recap for Season 17, Episode 1 of The Real Housewives of the OC. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the episode. What did you think? What would you rate it as? I thought this was pretty solid. I would give it a 7. There were enough nuggets in this first episode that made me think, okay, I want to see next week. I want to see what happens during the rest of the season. I'm very interested in Jenn. I think she was a good cast for this group, for this franchise. She doesn't seem camera hungry, seeking fame, like Noella was when she came on. She seems pretty genuine. I like her so far. I'm interested to see what she brings. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to like this video, share it if you care, and subscribe. And I will see you next week with another recap. Bye.